Hello, welcome everybody to the first episode of Aqua Membranes with the Water Report. My name is Ben Schultz. I'm our product and marketing manager here at Aqua Membranes, and this is Craig Beckman, our fearless CEO. And today we're going to talk about some of the water issues that we've seen in the news, or water issues that you may not know about to keep up with why water is a growing and important thing that's coming up in our world. This week, last week, there was an article that came out from the New York Times talking about a desalination plant on the coast of Spain. In Spain, you may not know, is a actually I don't want to say that. Spain is a tourist mecca in the summer, especially, but a lot of people would think, oh, they don't have an issue with getting their water. In this article, the New York Times outlined that they are using seawater desal on their coasts to help keep up with the tourist demand for water. This is an ever-growing issue that people are seeing all over the world as tourism grows and water need grows, but also these countries are having less water. Yeah, there's some background, but Craig, whenever you read the article and you saw the article, you've been in the industry for a long time. What came to mind for you?
Yeah, it was fun and interesting at the same time to see kind of what I've done for my career in more of the mainstream media and press. So they're talking about exactly like you said, rise of tourism in Europe, a strong dollar, lots of tourists are going to Europe and Italy and Spain, but much of Spain is actually quite arid and they need the water for the tourism, for economic development. And so that brings to mind very quickly this conflict. Do you use your water for your local residents? Do you use it to support tourism and development? Do you use it for agriculture? And those are all three competing needs for the water. And around the world, we have multiple problems with water. Of cities like this in Spain are arid and at the same time becoming more arid because of climate change. And we're just moving more people closer to oceans. As we look at population change and density, even here in the US, people are moving out of the Midwest onto the coasts. So that puts more pressure on these mega cities to have more water. Traditionally, in cities, we've pulled water out of the ground, aquifers, but those are draining quickly. And the next best place to go for many cities is the ocean, but it's really energy intensive. So over the years, we've gotten much better. We've put energy recovery systems in. We're getting close to the theoretical minimum with current technology, but Aqua Membranes is that next step. We get the next mile or the last mile, if you want to think about it, really close to the very smallest amount of energy to drive this process. And then if you drive it with renewable sources of energy like solar or wind, it really does become a sustainable long-term solution to water scarcity.
And then there was an interesting point made with desalination in the article, talking about on local, there's a lot of environmental studies done about what's done with the brine in the ocean. And I know that's a concern for a lot of people, specifically in ocean water desal, and it's limited a lot of projects in California. It'd be great, with your experience, what do you think? Is that something that needs to be considered? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's an ongoing question, debate around the world. Just quickly on the process, what we do is we take 100 units out of the ocean. 50 of those units are purified as drinking water, and then the other 50 goes back to the ocean. But kind of just simple math says, all right, if the ocean has 30,000 ppm, 30,000 milligrams per liter of salt, it's going to have twice that much, or 60,000 when you put it back. So wherever you put that ocean water back in the ocean, you have a localized zone that is more salty. It's higher in brine. So there have been studies done in the US, in Australia, in Europe, and the Middle East about, is that harmful or helpful to the environment? And with the environment, the answer is complex. The answer is yes and no at the same time. There's certain organisms in the water that are hurt by a higher salt content coming out. But there's other species, the Australian study really highlighted this, that actually thrive more in that localized zone. So it kind of depends on how you position it, how you look at it, there is definitely some effect. It is very localized, so you travel hundreds of meters, certainly miles away from that zone, the effect is really unmeasurable. But in that immediate zone, it's certainly measurable. There are technical solutions that have been used for that. Sometimes the brine discharge goes further into the ocean. Sometimes a large section of the beach and shoreline is actually taken up and a grid network is put in under the sand to percolate the brine back into the ocean. Again, that minimizes the effect. And there's some even really cutting edge technologies that put the separation technology in the water. So they'll actually submerge it, sometimes hundreds of feet deep, and then the brine is mixed down at the bottom of the ocean where it has almost no effect on aquatic life. So it's definitely something to consider. But if we look at kind of the development activity, human activity, agricultural need versus the effect on the ocean, they do need to be balanced. Like many things in the environment, we have to make sure we're doing our best to do sustainable minimum impact, but also balancing that against human development and the need for food and water. And as the water gets more scarce, as population increases and climate change gets more areas more arid, it's just a tough choice we have to make. Obviously, in the seawater industry, we feel like it's a risk we can manage, but it is something every community needs to address locally and decide on.
Yeah. I thought it was good to bring up. It's another side of the story that was really good and well outlined in the article. I highly suggest you read it. And then in areas like Spain or places where they're pulling from the aquifer, we're seeing less water resources when this big water scarcity crisis. Do you think there is any industries, I know agriculture is a huge user of water, different industries all over the world to make some of the goods that me and you love are using large amounts of water. Where do you think, other than pulling from the sea, there are ways for these industries to be able to be more responsible with their water to help prevent more crisis?
Sure. Yeah, it's a good question. And being in the water industry, people often ask me, well, are we going to run out of water? And the answer is no, we're not going to run out of water. Will certain people have less water and other people have more? Yes. And that's a political community decision of, like, in your area, how important is agricultural use versus industrial use versus residential use? And all those things have to be measured against each other. Around the world, agriculture still is one of the biggest users. And there are technical solutions to make it more efficient. Things like drip irrigation and other technologies to only irrigate when you absolutely need can save water in those areas. But agriculture is just a part of life, and we grow crops in California and we'll continue to grow crops in California. So that's like one area to get more efficient. If we look at kind of the next two big buckets, industrial and consumer use, there one of the biggest solutions is recycling. This idea of, like, how can you use the water more efficiently inside the walls of your factory? So let's start at a factory. If you're making potato chips or semiconductor chips, either case use a lot of water. And a lot of water comes into the plant and a lot of water leaves as wastewater. So our technology is one of the solutions to recycling it inside. So at the back end of the plant, instead of spending and sending 500,000 or 1 million gallons of water back to the drain that eventually gets treated and back into a river, instead take half of that and recycle it back to the front end of the plant and just reuse it. That's a trend we're starting to see accelerate as more and more facilities have to expand their industrial production, and they're in populated cities in the southeast and the southwest. Then we look at the municipal one, and it's even more interesting, maybe problematic, of the idea of, well, your home is the same way. Like, you bring in hundreds of gallons every day into your home and send it right down the drain. We could recycle it in your home very easily. So for example, the water you use in your shower could easily be used to flush your toilet. But today in most states in the US, there's actually a regulation against that. So it's not easy to do. And there's also the perception of, well, if I take the shower water and I treat it and use it for drinking water, well, that doesn't really feel great. But the reality is the technology's there. We can make that water cleaner to drink than the water you're starting to get with today, because the technology's there, it's proven, it's easy to do, but it's a consumer acceptance. Like, you and I are both science fiction fans, we both like the movie Dune. In there they talk about the still suit that recycles human waste just to drink. astronauts do exactly that every day out in space today. So it's not like we don't do it. We just all have to kind of get our head around it.
Yeah, when you were talking, I was thinking of Dune the whole time. And especially because I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We're a semi-arid desert. Like every day, it's like you go outside and I can feel like I need one of those things in my nose, like the Fremen. I need to be recycling so I can drink. I don't have to drink so much water all day. But yeah, thanks, Craig. Yeah, as we wrap up, I just want to say, is there any closing statements you think you want to share about Aqua Membranes and where we're going before I close out?
Yeah, I mean, Aqua Membranes is proud to be part of the solution. We're only one part of it. But I think what's even more important is that all of us are in this together. Like, all of us have a responsibility in what we buy, what we consume, how we use water, when we use water. And it's all something, well, all of us, in my opinion, take it for granted. And we're not going to be able to do that anymore. You're going to have a better sense of where your water came from, where your waste is going, and how much it actually costs. Because it is going to affect where people live, what products are made in what area, and even what countries have better GDP growth. So you're going to have to pay attention.
Yeah, 100%. If you have any questions about Aqua Membranes, feel free to contact us at sales@aquamembranes.com. Or if you would like to receive any of our case studies that we've done or hear more about our products, you can visit our website, aquamembranes.com. Thanks. Bye.